All right, ready?
Ready.
All right. What's up, guys? My name is Mario.
My name's Pao.
Welcome back to another Vive con Huevos podcast. And guys, today I am very excited. Not only is this our 2-year anniversary podcast.
It is. That's crazy.
It is.
Crazy to think about
2
that.
years. For
How
all you
many
day
episodes?
ones, I don't know.
We lost count.
TBH, yeah. Stopped counting.
We stopped.
It's like it's like being in a relationship after so many years. You're just like, I don't forgot. We just been together
for a long time.
It just happens. But guys, unfortunately today we don't have Jesus. He's feeling a little under the weather today. But in his place, we have a very special guest. Just like all of our guests, they're all very special. We have with us today Kelly Bollmann in the building.
Let's
Ladies
go.
and gentlemen.
Let's go.
You've heard us talk about him plenty of times with Silvia.
Yeah, with Silvia. yeah.
Pause. I don't even know what episodes those were, but
I don't know. But
just go back.
Just go back.
They're
Her
good
name
episodes,
is in
yeah.
the title.
Timestamp them.
Yeah. And this has been a long time coming. I've been trying to get Kelly on the podcast for quite some time.
I apologize.
It's cool. It's either one thing or another. It's either you or it's me or just something happens. But
Sylvia controls the schedule, so she's
that's
So
what
it's her fault.
Yeah.
1,000%. She's
I don't
not
know.
here.
I don't know about that.
blame Pao all the time. Like whenever someone wants to hang
Wow.
out with me, it's like, I don't know. I got to check with Pao.
So we're like the new moms. Like, oh, I can't. My mom didn't give me permission.
I like to
that.
say you're my COO. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah. Nothing happens without your permission.
All right.
But Kelly,
Sure.
honestly, I'm super excited for you to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Same.
We've been trying to do this for quite some time,
Yeah.
and I think honestly, a part of it, I was just a little intimidated because I was growing, we were growing.
Yeah.
Our questions were evolving. Us as podcasters, us as like, interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely 2 years ago sucked as an interviewer. I never let anybody talk. I was interrupting people left and right.
Oh, so
was.
right out the gate, you just like, you'd ask one question, they would reply, and you just go for
Whatever
30?
was just sparked into my head, I fucking said it.
Nice.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, we had to have conversations about it. Like, people are here to listen to the guests, babe. Like,
Yeah. One time someone in the comments was like, this is a good episode, but the fat guy talked a lot.
Wait, really?
Was that a real comment?
No, I was
Oh, I was like, damn.
I was like, bro, I thought I deleted that one. I was like, shit.
I thought I didn't
like,
press
this-
I
send.
know this is this guy's podcast, but goddamn, he has a guest.
No, but people would
Yeah.
make fun of you for interrupting people.
Yeah,
So,
it was
lot.
like a drinking game. It was like take a shot every time Mario interrupts one of the
Yeah.
guests.
There is an art to asking questions and
Yeah.
then like
letting it
letting
be.
it
Yeah.
letting it ride.
simmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I've actually learned to listen. I think one of the biggest things that I've taken out of the podcast. I mean, there's a lot of things we've had a lot of growth, but one thing for me is just learning to listen. Because and definitely the first like 5 episodes, horrible,
Yeah.
horrible. But I mean,
okay.
so we got to start
You learn.
somewhere,
And
right?
there's such a difference in listening to just listen and listening and can't wait to reply.
Yeah,
And then you're not really listening. Because
Exactly.
that means your mind is already made up
Yeah.
right there and it's ready to send it.
yeah. It was very like intentional listening now. So it's been a learning curve for sure.
Well, congrats
Yeah.
to me. Proud of you.
Thank you. But anyways, today's not about us anymore. Today's about Kelly.
Come on.
And Kelly, you're kind of like a cat. You've had
Many
a lot
lives.
of different lives.
Bro, so many. I was like, I'm allergic to that, but
Yeah. All right. Oh, are you really?
hyper.
Like deathly?
Bro, like one of their hairs
Yeah.
got into my eye one time. We were on tour, and it was in Austin. And tangent, but it made my eye just blow up when we were playing a show.
Oh,
like
no.
2 hours later. So it started fucking up my lungs and my eye, and so I had to get high on Benadryl. And then I realized I was getting so tired, so I had to take pre-workout.
Oh, no.
And then I capped it off with some mezcal.
Okay.
So that show
it
it
was
was the
one hell
best
of
I
a
ever
fucking
played, bro. I was like, I found my new beautiful trio right there.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It was like that one time where when we came up with Paulina and I had this, we wanted to start this Valle de Guadalupe page. We wanted to go out to the vineyards and find all these like.
At the time, we were going.
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
we were going a lot, so we wanted to find all like the hole in the wall spots.
Got it.
And document it and like obviously upload it and stuff like that. And we're having so much difficulty trying to find a name. And then was I sick?
You got You were like on naproxen and like antibiotics.
Yeah, so at the time, I told you why I used to. I would get really bad gout flare-ups. So I was like on naproxen.
But for some reason, you were also on antibiotics.
I was sick, so I was on like antibiotics. We went out to dinner was it your grandma's birthday?
I don't know.
The point is, we went out to dinner. Yeah, tangent. We went out to dinner with her family. And we were at a steakhouse, and I was drinking some wine. Next thing you know, I'm on fucking cloud 9, bro. And the idea of the Instagram name just like, this is what it has to be, and it just clicked. But we were high as hell.
Yeah,
it works.
It works.
It works.
Who's the artist that would dip his bandana in acid?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know this one.
God damn it!
Guitar player?
Yeah. And he's super famous, and I'm
Jimi
blanking.
Hendrix?
Yeah, there we go. I was
Got
like, I'm
it.
blanking out. I know it was somebody.
Oh,
He
wow.
would,
when
he would dip his
he would dip it
bandana
into, as far as I know, like I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Internet, we need to see if this
I
is
know.
true or
Yeah,
not.
so he would dip it into acid, and then when he was sweating, when he was on stage, it would open up his pores.
Interesting.
So that would like another way of like ingesting the acid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're not allergic to dogs though? You're just
No.
allergic
Oh
to
yeah, that's
cats?
how we got here.
I was like, because Ollie has really fine hair too, and I was like, I don't want your eye to blow up
No.
now.
I'm like halfway through this conversation.
It's just cats. But I always have Benadryl. But I had asthma growing up, and so just paired with that was just not
Yeah.
fun. But
Oh no.
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm allergic to cats, but not like that deathly allergic. I'm just like I'll get like nasal drip.
Itchy eyes.
Yeah, that and like dander. I don't know.
All these
Everything that I
allergies.
work with, I'm allergic to. It's fucking
Solid.
it's insane.
Solid.
Yeah. But anyways, tangent. Kelly, again, thank you again for being here.
Yo, love
It's
you
an
guys.
honor. You are someone who I admire deeply. The way you look at life, your output in life. We've worked together during my work as I am working on my weight loss journey. And
Proud of you, by the way.
Thank you, man.
It is a journey.
Yeah. It's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough to say the least. And we've talked about it before. You and I are very open. For me, it's just like the drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we have a very hectic social life where it's like now I've gotten a little bit better at like picking and choosing when I drink or where I drink.
Yeah.
We talked about it the other day. I was like, you know what? Like I worked out so hard in order for me to just have that 1 or 2 beer on the weekends, you know, or not every weekend, but like, or that one event.
Yeah.
Which is super dope. And honestly, you've opened my eyes to a lot. I love the way you see the world, the way you think. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I just really want to say thank you. Because I think working with you really opened up a lot. And Paulina kind of gets on my case because I was like, I told you this, but it's different when you hear it from somebody else.
Well,
yeah.
first off, love you.
Yeah.
Secondly, you got a bomb ass queen right there
you.
who's on her shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes she could be delivering the best message, but it has to be a different type of conduit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been in multiple relationships that I've gone through similar things, and especially hearing things from my parents, I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And then 10 years later, through multiple, different.
damn, they were
Turns
right.
out you did know.
Sorry, mama.
Yeah. Well, Paulina, what was it the other day? She was like, up until you're like 18 or what is it?
Kids are programmed from like the age of 12 to 25 to like hate their parents. And then like from like 25 to 26, it's this like switch where you're just all of a sudden
Yeah,
like,
it's called
wait.
bills. It's called fucking bills. College is done, and they're like
Life
that
happens.
first mortgage payment, and they're like,
There is food at home.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I was watching a video that was talking about that study where like normally those are
Interesting.
about the ages that like they make that switch. So the study was talking about having like a strong community behind you because like what you're gonna tell your kid, they're not gonna listen, but like
sure.
they might listen to your best friend,
For
you know,
sure.
because it's not the parent telling them.
Yep.
So I feel like it's kind of the same thing where I'm like, I could tell you,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
it just
Yep.
takes someone else to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, interesting journey. But I mean, we're here to learn about you and your journey.
Yes.
And you've had an interesting one.
Yeah.
You grew up in what, Virginia?
Yeah, Virginia Beach.
How was that?
Interesting. You know,
And there's my
Said
clip.
a lot.
Thank you.
Said a lot.
Oh, also, if you get hot, let me know because I'm fucking sweating balls already.
really?
So yeah, just
well,
let me
you
know.
do have a hoodie on.
Yeah, and my hoochie
Both
daddy
hoochies.
shorts.
Yeah.
But I'm
Great
telling
legs,
you,
by
I
the
get
way.
hot in like the most awkwardest places. I mean, that was weird. But I mean, like,
Really?
like, dude, I can be in the snow. I can be in Big Bear, snowing, fucking negative 30 degrees, and I'm like, it's fucking hot.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So Virginia Beach was like,
So fuck you.
yeah. So fuck you and your sweating issue. Anyways, this is my story. No. Are we allowed to say the F-bomb here?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Rules.
Our name is literally live with balls.
Oh yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. Because I know Spanish very well. Yeah. So grew up in Virginia Beach, and my dad was an active duty Navy SEAL, and so he was part of a special missions unit over there, and 3 biological siblings, and so big homeschooled family, and
Oh, nice.
grew up going to church and everything, and yeah, it's a fun place. It's
Was it very traditional, like in the way you grew up?
yeah,
Like,
because it's military and religious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
was it super strict?
it was strict in the sense of like, so we weren't allowed to watch any rated R movies unless they were war movies.
Okay.
So it was like, can't watch
Yeah.
anything bad. And then you just see legs getting blown off. And you're like,
Okay.
Can't watch sex, but look at this malicious killing
just
right
like
now.
his intestines
Yeah.
just getting blown out. It's just like, okay, but still love Saving Private Ryan. And so growing up, I wouldn't say it was like super strict in the sense of like, I think my parents pre-internet, pre-social media, all these mental health things and knowing how to homeschool kids, you know, you just are given what what you have is, you know, kind of what you research, and that's it. You know, like, there's no Google then. And then life took a interesting turn when I was 11. A sibling group of 7 black kids and their dad moved in next door to us, and we were running a Bible study out of our house at the time, and so we knew all the kids in the neighborhood. Like, and so every Monday night we would have like 50 to 80 kids at our house.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
called Club, Children Living Under the Bible. Great acronym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
my brother and I would ride our bikes around the neighborhood and drop flyers off every Monday, and they would come and we'd play basketball. We had an obstacle course in our backyard. We had a volleyball net on our side yard, and then we would just play basketball. People would get fucked up on the obstacle course, and then we would just play worship songs and eat pizza.
Wow.
And
That
so it
actually
was
kinda-
like
that actually
it-
sounds kinda
It was
fun.
actually lit.
Yeah.
It was
Sounds like a movie.
and
Seriously.
nobody had phones, and it was like great.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we knew all the kids in our neighborhood. And so one morning, some new kids showed up and were playing on a basketball hoop, and we're like,
Time to
Who
fuck
are
shit
you?
it
up.
was time to fuck shit up. And so my brother Dave and I,
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. So we went out and we beat two of these new kids and
In basketball.
in basketball. Okay. Not because we're in Virginia. So beat them in basketball. And then more kids started coming out through like the house and the fence. And we're like, oh. And we just got the really quick story that they were living in a car with their dad, going from relative to relative until they
Oh,
got
wow.
kicked out. And then they went to their next relative's house. And their cousin's house was our next door neighbor. And so I was like, all right. But this was the first time I ever was around like extreme, like the smell of extreme poverty. Like there was like a dense like smell, and I was like, ooh, that's new,
Yeah.
totally new. I was in my privileged little. I was like,
Yeah.
what's that?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that because, well, obviously, in the family business that have the carpet cleaning business, we go to different types of houses
For sure.
every single day.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously different means that people with different means that we go to. I mean, we don't discriminate. It's like, if you have money to pay us, then we'll go to your house.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's just like I don't know if I want to I don't want to come up as rude, but
No.
there's
You
like
can distinguish it, yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
If someone hasn't showered, and they've been living in clothes for a couple days,
Yeah.
like.
And I think that's what it is. It's the enclosed
Yep.
smell.
That was the first time I ever, and I
Yeah.
smelt it on a child in
Yeah.
America. And that was like, I've seen a lot of National Geographic stuff, but I was like, this is not happening in like United States. And so they moved right next door to us, and we're like, okay. And then we just became really good friends.
Yeah.
But then we were homeschooling at the time during the summer, and so we just came like, we were just playing basketball, finding out their story, and just found out that they were just like going from family to family, and nothing was really set in stone past that. We just had an open door because we always had kids at our house every Monday night. So our house was like the neighborhood spot to like go. And so having 7 extra kids around was nothing new.
Right.
And then at some point, we kind of were just hearing just like they were going to move. And so my parents just off the whim were like, hey, if you guys ever need a place to stay, it's not like we have a big house. It was like 1,500 square feet with 1.5 bathrooms.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So not like, bro, this ain't a mansion.
Yeah.
You know, this ain't, so, and then they left. And then a couple months later, one of the kids called. He's like, hey, my dad's going to get a job up here. Can we come stay with you? And we're like, oh shit.
They took the offer.
Yo, they called our bluff. No.
Oh shit, we moved.
Yo,
you know,
I'm sorry. We're in Washington. No. And so we became like it was like essentially like an emergency foster family.
Yeah.
But went
That's
from
interesting.
a family of 6 to 13.
Wow.
Now, were they homeschooled too?
So this is where the plot thickens. When we filed with a lawyer to have like an emergency foster family like set up, it went through like the social service like directory and it some bells went off. Mm-hmm. They've been looking for these kids for a while because they hadn't been in school.
Oh.
And so we were homeschooling at our house like a month later, and we got a knock on the door. And it was like 3 cop cars and 3 vans. And they said, you got 10 minutes to hand over the kids.
Oh,
wow.
shit.
Yeah. And they're like,
shit.
yeah. So they've been living with us for, I think 2 or 3 months at the time. And we've known them for probably like 7 or 8 months at this point. Yeah. And my dad was deployed. And yeah, they're like, you got 10 minutes to hand over the kids. But then, yeah, like to give you a little perspective on my mom, she rallied all the kids, and the kids went around the house just like screaming. And they packed all their bags, got them out to the sidewalk, and then my mom got all the police officers and the social workers in a circle and sang like Amazing Grace. And then all the kids split up in 3 different vans because they don't keep them together.
They split up everything.
Yeah,
the kids.
no one keeps 7. People don't even send like siblings in 2 in that system. It's such a broken system.
That's wild.
So instantly we saw just a fracture.
Yeah.
So my dad, I think he got pulled back from his deployment, got sent because this was like a big situation, or he was on a training mission or something. And then we got like letters of recommendation from like the people he knew in Congress and senators and our pastors, and like, yo, y'all just fucked up. Like, this is actually a good family. Mm-hmm. And our good family friends in Virginia Beach, the Llewellyns, they rented us a van, like a 15-passenger van. And we're like, okay, you guys are going to get the kids back. Yeah, and so they rented us for us. And then we were up there for like 2 days, but then got the court case. And then, yeah, we got them.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So, I know, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And so it was designed, I mean, not designed, but I think it was just like an emergency foster family. It was just the whole goal. Let's make sure that the family set up, get them back with their dad, and then everything's going to be back to normal. And then, man, life has different plans.
And did they stick with you their entire childhood, or?
Yeah. So their mom got involved for a little bit. She was not the most motherly of all humans.
Yeah.
And so I'll just leave it at that. And we tried putting them with the mom, even rented her an apartment.
Wow.
So the whole goal was getting them, back. Just God had different plans. And so every way for the parents to show up, they just didn't show up. Mm. And so like 2 years, I think it was like 2 years later, the dad approached us and was like, do you think you'd be willing to adopt them?
Wow.
And we're like, oh, this is a little different. Now, at the same time, though, for 2 years, we've been integrated with the church. We've been learning, like, we're now like all in the praise and worship team. We're playing music. We're on basketball teams. We're playing football. I mean, my brother's huge. They're like 6'7", 6'6", 6'5".
Wow.
6'4", and like 6'1". This is the shortest. Yeah, so big.
Yeah.
So starting 5 on the basketball team, I'm like almost 6 foot, but be able to lob just continually and just run games all day. We're like, yeah, we want them as family.
That's how old are you when they first came?
So they were, let me see, I was 11, and everybody's in a 10-year age like range.
Okay.
Everybody. So it's from 3 to 13. 13 was the oldest, 3 was the youngest.
Wow.
And then all my biological siblings are also within that 10-year. So it was, 13 to 3.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy on your parents. I'm sure.
Like, I think it's just because we already were running like a Bible study and we were around kids all the time. So it's like, all right, it can't be that much crazier. Yo, it was that much crazier. And I generally don't remember a lot of life before them, to be honest.
Yeah.
There was like, we did some fun stuff as a family and camping and like basic white people shit beforehand, but then we did some really fun shit afterwards. Like that's where like the second phase of like life really started.
Something that huge, I can imagine, it's so impactful on your life.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that everything before that was just kind of like,
Meh.
Yeah.
it was kind of mid. Yeah.
Yeah. But my parents sat us down and they're like, hey, if we adopt them, they're going to be taking like our last name. Like this is like, how do you feel? And my little sister, Sarah, she's like, if they become Bollmans, do we have to paint them white?
Oh my God.
She was like 4 years old. What if I said she was 14? Like, wow. All right. Cool.
You guys were in a small town.
Small town. No internet. No. Yeah. So, and then like my little brother, Chris, he was nonverbal because of like the trauma and stuff like that. So I remember that was like a very like interesting thing because he couldn't speak. But then our little sister, Cinnamon, his biological sister, could translate all of his noises into what he was saying. Perfect.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was like their own little Morse code. It was weird.
This is like a movie. Like I literally feel like I'm watching a movie right now.
What was their age gap?
Let me see. Chris was 3. Cinnamon was maybe 4.
Okay.
But when she came out and met my mom for the first time, she literally was like, will you be my mommy?
Oh.
Literally right out the gate. So that's when my mom was like, something's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one
Especially
just rolls up and just says, yo, you want to be my mom?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my posture right now.
Oh.
I was like trying to fix myself.
Yeah, you good,
I was
bro?
like so
Making you
uncomfortable
sweat
for a little
over
bit. Yeah.
You're like, I don't do
No,
my
it's because
hands.
this back pillow was like hurting me, but I didn't want to interrupt the story. So I was like, how do I move?
Bro, you good, dog.
Yeah.
From your biological siblings, are you the oldest?
No, I have one brother who currently is in the hospital right now with his wife who's giving birth.
Oh, yay.
The first, I led that out really
Yeah,
well.
I was like,
who's in the
oh.
hospital?
It's like shit. You sure you want to be here?
Yeah.
Like, why are
And
we here?
he's his wife is giving birth to our first biological like niece and or nephew.
No, congratulations.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I have 22 nieces and nephews
Wow.
Holy shit.
already, and those are from my my adopted siblings. And so, but none of my biological siblings and myself have any kids. So this is the first one.
Do you guys all still hang out?
Yeah, so it's like we're really spread out
Yeah.
throughout the country right now. But my siblings are like my best friends.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah.
That's
There's a couple that are on the fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that have.
What about for like holidays? Do you guys try to get together?
So we try to plan like the big holidays, and now that there's so many kids, it's way more cost effective for me to go places rather than just getting
Everybody
6
here.
kids.
Well,
Over
22
here.
people. That's a big ass Airbnb. You
Yeah,
gotta
it's
rent.
nuts.
yeah.
So you're in San Diego because you came to San Diego on your own, or did your entire family move here at one point?
Good question. So I was living in LA right before the pandemic, and I was just working on a bunch of artists and producing out there, and then hearing it was going to get pretty nasty, I moved back to Virginia because I was
Okay.
like, I'm not going to be in a big city if this thing pops off. So moved back home.
Got it.
And it was-
So home was always Virginia.
Home was
Like
Virginia Beach.
okay.
But I've lived outside of Virginia since I've been like 19.
Got it.
Yeah. And so I was in LA for like almost like 4 years. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be out here when if this
Yeah.
thing pops off, like they're saying it's going to pop off. No, I'm getting back
Well,
to
we were
Virginia.
all ready for like the zombie apocalypse, like all this shit.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Bob was ready to build a bunker at
yo,
one point.
dig
Yeah,
down, yo. And no, so I was in Virginia, and then me and my brother, we knew we had to make it back out to California for writing and for producing. And so we just were like, okay, let's just drive back to San Diego and then use San Diego as like the launch point to
Got
get
it.
back to LA. And then none of us actually made it back to LA. yeah.
That's
San
okay.
Diego, San Diego is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about it in the last podcast with Bolo. It was like, it's just such a nice place to be.
Yeah.
And then LA, like I love LA because it does have a lot of opportunity, but there's just so much ego. Just so much ego. And I just don't want to surround myself for like we've talked about like potentially moving out there only because of the podcast.
I would
sure.
never.
Yeah. But it's just, yeah, I know Bao would never. And then sometimes I go back and forth, but it's like, I just don't want to surround myself around that much ego. Like there's already ego in San Diego, but I just don't want to.
It's layered because anybody that's really good at like music, like tends to be closer to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because why would you live in San Diego?
Yeah.
Same thing like in the film industry. Like, why would you be in San Diego? Why are you not in LA? The internet has kind of given you a lot more opportunities than
Yeah.
you did had, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But still, I have so many writing opportunities that I still can't get to just because I'm just not in the proximity.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're doing this tomorrow. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
So we have talked about that. We know we want a bigger footprint closer to Los Angeles, purely just for the entertainment world.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you can't. It's like if you want to go do something and learn about wineries, but you're nowhere near a winery,
Right.
Like you can drink all the shit here at home, but then
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
like it's
Yeah.
just different. So you got to go walk the grounds. You gotta learn about the grapes. So it's like horrible analogy, but we went with
works.
No,
We
it
know,
makes
yeah,
sense.
it
It,
works, yeah.
actually makes a
so
lot
when
of
you're
sense.
around certain creative auras and the energy, it does feel different. Because I was in Nashville, I was in New York, I was in LA and stuff like that. So when you're in a place where that many creative entities are working towards something, there is a fun little buzz that you just don't have here.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you kind of just miss that buzz. And, I've talked to Sylvia about that a couple times. So at some point, I know we're going to have a bigger footprint there. So y'all
Yeah.
can come stay at our house.
Yeah.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Super down.
1,000%.
Always down.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the music industry a little bit right now. So where does the music industry come into your life? At what point did it come into your life?
Really young, actually. So going back to the childhood and playing in the the church band, this is so weird how it all kind of birthed out. I was already playing guitar, and my brother was playing piano even before we, adopted our siblings. And then when they moved in and we were playing at church, we had a lot of people donate like some musical instruments, like a drum set, piano,
Okay.
more stuff. So neighbors hated us, just like we were just
Man.
going off. And then what happened is when the story got out that we adopted so many kids at once, it kind of like blew up for a little bit. And so the local paper did a feature on it, and then the news did like an article on it. And then like certain churches and nonprofits like locally started inviting us to their place to tell the story. And then we would do like our worship thing. We were doing like tap dance, jazz, hip hop.
It's like a show and tell.
Show and tell, bro. It's just like, and then, so it was kind of birthed out of like gratefulness and thankfulness. And, and then more shows and things started like approaching us. So you ever heard like Showtime at the Apollo? Mm-hmm. So we did like a huge performance on Showtime at the Apollo. And then ABC Family called us and we did a sitcom.
Of course they did.
We did a sitcom on ABC Family for a year. It was
Did
called
you
My
really?
Life as a Sitcom. Yeah, so it was a big competition, and we didn't end up winning, even though I know we won the popular vote. It was just all politics and bullshit. And that was the first time I ever saw it. But we all flew out to Hollywood. We shot like a huge pilot series, like on all the sets out there. And then we performed like on Oprah.
Wow.
We did a big thing on Oprah, and then like Good Morning America and a couple other of those shows. And so I was 14. Okay. And so it was the first time I went from Virginia to like some really cool sets. And I was like, man, this is cool.
You've been on tour since you were 14.
Yeah. So it was like,
tour.
yeah. And so that was the first time my brain and my mind, I knew I wanted to do music in some aspect, but I didn't know kind of like what facet that was going to bleed into. Because a part of me also wanted to do like what my dad was doing as like a Navy SEAL. Because my uncle is a SEAL. My godfather is a SEAL. And so I grew up around that as well. So part of me wanted to go down, not saying I could have done it, but I at least wanted to try it.
Yeah.
And then there was like some times during high school when I should have like, would have been the time to join right after 9/11. I had some incredible opportunities up in New York City. And I was like, man, this is going to go two heavy ways. Like we're, really deep in Afghanistan on the war. And I was like, all right, we're going to go this way or we're going to go this way.
Yeah.
And so I chose the entertainment route, but a lot of kids that I grew up with chose that other route. And, they're still in. Some of them retired now, which is crazy to think about.
Right.
Yeah. What helped you make that choice? Because I feel that's a very difficult.
My family. I was doing music with my family and my best friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, if it was like a solo endeavor, I probably would have maybe gone the military route for at least a little bit, in some aspect. But since my brother was doing it, my sisters were doing it, all of us were in on it. I was like, yeah, let's just ride the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did it's okay Mayday, right?
Yeah. So that's like the last like
stretch
of everything. There were so many things that kind of led into what that is now.
Let's talk about that journey. Like, how did that
go
from
So the first family band, it was actually called Blended. Bro.
That's crazy.
Wait, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna send you one of the tracks.
Yeah.
It maybe be like background music for this.
Yeah.
And it's horrible.
Jesus.
No, it's so good.
Jesus likes using it for the breaks.
Yeah. And so, but one of our really good friends, Ryan Bomberger, he was part of this like band in Virginia Beach, and we saw them opening up for CeCe Winans, and they just had the most beautiful melodies. And he heard about our family story. He's adopted from like one of like 15. And so he came over to our house and started just teaching us all melodies. And so then we started like a little family group there, and that was called Blended. So that was like the first.
I love that.
That was like the first rendition, but it was all 11 of us. Man, and it was a lot of noise, man.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So
your childhood must have been so much fun.
It's
Like
so-
that's all I could think about.
it's so much fun. It's hard to like compute like or even quantify how much energy and how much love and how much adventure
Yeah.
it was. Like it was so much all the time.
Yeah.
You had like the extreme of what I wanted when I was younger.
It was to the max.
Yeah, because my sister and I are 7 years apart. So I like to say I'm the only child.
Got it.
Because like it was just a huge
Or that
age
you
gap.
grew up as the only child, yeah.
Obviously she took care of me and stuff, but like the age gap was just so big that it's like I wanted to play with, like I always say this analogy is like I wanted to play with the Legos, but she wanted to play with boys.
Yeah.
Because she was 14 when I was 7, so
Yep.
it's crazy.
Yep.
So you're like living like what I wanted, because I always wanted a huge family. I wanted like brothers and sisters, because I always felt alone when I was younger.
Yeah. No, it's interesting you said that.
And you probably wanted alone time.
Man, there was no alone time.
No.
And there's, and we'll talk about this later, but there are certain things that we didn't know about childhood and development and brain development and not having isolated alone time. And that kind of doesn't always mean it pays off later on the road,
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of like where the music journey started, is because people donated musical instruments, donated their time. Big shout out to Jacob Marshall. Thank you for teaching us all drums. One of the most brilliant humans ever. I'll talk to you about when we get to some other music stuff. But he taught us all how to play drums, and so all of us knew how to play drums.
That's awesome.
And so that's why the neighbors really hated
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
All of us.
If it wasn't you, it was someone else playing.
No, it was everybody. So yeah, that was like the birthplace of blended. And then that lasted for a while. And then at some point, there was a big musical difference between my brother David, my biological brother David, and then my adopted brother EJ. He's like a mixture of like Pharrell meets Bruno Mars.
Okay.
He's brilliant, but he has ideas that go everywhere.
Yeah.
And my brother David is like super type A. And so the razzle dazzle was just driving him nuts. And so we just decided to split bands. And so they started a cover band,
Okay.
and they killed it. Cheap Thrills.
Yeah. Cheap
And
Thrills.
Cheap Thrills. And it was my brother EJ, Steven, Drew, and two of their friends. And then for like the next like 8 years, they just in Virginia Beach destroyed it. They played at Stephen Curry's wedding.
Did they really?
What?
Oh yeah, they played like everywhere.
How did
like,
they land that? That's crazy.
because
Crazy.
they played at like congressmen's weddings. Like they were, when I say they were so good, my brother Steven is still my favorite drummer on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, do you know who Questlove is? Like from the Roots.
Okay.
He
I know
plays
the
Jimmy
Roots,
Fallon
yeah,
band. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Think about that in the pocket.
Wow.
Just like he breathes and sleeps and shits like a click track. It's like insane. He's still my favorite drummer. His fills are like
That's awesome.
absolutely nuts. And so they went down that route of cover band stuff, and then we started another group with my biological sister and my brother, and then two of our good friends, Stephen Lee and Matt Osborne. We started another group called Recaps, and that was more in the indie rock like realm. And we're like, we want to go out of Virginia Beach.
You wanted an adventure.
We wanted an
Yeah.
adventure. I just knew I just didn't want to play locally in Virginia Beach. I was
Yeah.
like, after experiencing so many cities, I was like, Virginia Beach is cool, but that's not where you want to get locked in if you're doing like just local cover, which is some people kill it, but that's not what I necessarily wanted to
Right.
do.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to see what other opportunities were out there, right? I
Yep.
Think, yeah.
Yep.
That's an
And
important thing, I think, when it comes to like any industry, is see what else is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like you're not going to get crazy opportunities just out of Virginia Beach, at least at that time. Because, again, pre-social media,
Yeah.
like no one's just discovering you
Right.
at a local bar. If you were
Yeah.
like in Nashville or New York or, LA or
YouTube
something like
was
that.
still not a
Skateboard
thing.
and
Nah,
stuff
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
like, I mean, not that old, bro, but yeah. Yeah, so we went and did the more independent and then started working to go on tour and get partnered up with labels and stuff like that. And so that started that whole other chapter of music. And that was a fun one.
That's great. How long did you guys tour then?
So what's
What was the second group?
so recaps.
Recaps, yeah.
So what's
I keep thinking of blended.
Yeah. No,
It's
blended.
just all that's on my mind right now is blended.
It's a great name, man.
Yeah.
Wait till you see the photo. It's like just,
I know,
it's
I
just
wanna
like
see it.
it's just like
all of that.
11 kids, just like right in a row. Yeah.
Straight. Not
Yeah.
even like, not even positioned.
Nah. So with recaps, it was interesting. We got partnered up with a local DJ in Virginia Beach who was in charge of. He was just really partnered up with some of the bigger hip hop heads from Virginia Beach. And from Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads, some of your favorite producers have come from. Like, you got Timbaland, you got the Neptunes, so Pharrell and Chad Hugo. Chad Hugo's still, I know, top 3 producer of all time for me.
Yeah.
When you think about the Neptunes, like magic, so much of that is Chad Hugo. He's one of the most brilliant minds like on the planet.
Yeah.
We got Teddy Riley, we got Knox, we got Lex Luger, we have Missy Elliott, we got Hammond, we got just so many people from that area. And so when Pharrell had that festival that popped up a couple years ago, it's called Something in the Water. The reason for that is because anytime you would say you're from Virginia Beach, you're like, yo, what's in that water over there? What's happening in that? Because in that little small pocket of the country, at one point between the Neptunes and Timbaland, I think they had almost like, I think it was over 50% of all pop and hip hop radio,
Wow. Just
just
coming
from
out from there.
those
I didn't
3
realize
people.
that.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So that's how much they shaped culture. They shaped culture just from Virginia Beach.
What is in that water?
No, so it's like, especially from Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley's like the only person to actually ever produce and mix, like a Michael Jackson song, like on the same record. Yeah, it's nuts.
That's wild.
Yeah. So much talent is from that little pocket of. But everybody had to leave Virginia Beach to kind of get something, and then they came back and to start there. So we're like, okay, we're gonna leave. We're gonna do some stuff. So we got partnered up with some investors, and we started an album in Nashville, and it was beautiful. We were in Nashville for like, I think it was like 3 months, 2 months, something like that. And I'll send you some of those records.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. It was one of the most peaceful in the sense of like, I've never just lived in a studio for like months at a time. And I was like, this is what I need to be doing. And it's the guy who produced the album, his name's Paul Moak. I'll send you his Instagram so you can see. I mean, you walk in, and one of the interns' job is to light hundreds of candles. So when you walk in there, when I say there are hundreds of candles lit, it's like...
You're not exaggerating.
I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. And everything's mic'd where it's ready to go within 30 seconds. So if you have an idea, it's ready to go plug in and send it.
Play, just
go.
Before you lose the idea.
Yeah, before you lose the idea. It's like, I want to like rent that spot out for like 6 months and just live there.
That sounds like
It's
beautiful.
insane. It's insane. And so we, so we were there for a couple months. And then after the project was done is when we got linked up with Timbaland. He heard, some of the records, and he was like,
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a huge producer.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah. No.
As a person.
Yeah. No, he, and so that started like the next chapter of us just understanding music.
Yeah.
Because then there's musicians, and then there's artists, and then there's producers, and there's people who actually embody all of that together. And Tim hears frequencies and sounds and rhythms that you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
24.
24.
Okay.
Something like that. 25.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something that I find like, I want to like pick your brain is like, because well, you grew up in a small town. Well, I want to say a small town. When you're in Virginia, you were homeschooled.
Yeah.
Were you like, do you think you were like kind of sheltered when you were younger? What I want to get at is like from that to like where you're at, where you were at that point at 24. Now you're working with these huge producers.
Yeah.
Like, what was your mindset? Like, how was it like a culture shock? Like, how was that for you?
I think since honestly, we have black people living in our family now.
Yeah.
I got cultured real quick. I found out so much about shit I didn't know existed in music. And so my horizon got broadened really fast. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, there's
more out there.
There's more out there. Yeah. So I was if I didn't come from that family background, and then we didn't obviously have that family story to go around like the country and seeing like all these studio sets and everything and talk shows, then 1,000% I would have been way more sheltered. But
you were already kind of seasoned.
Very
by the time you got
seasoned. By the time that we got to work with Tim, we had been through so many different avenues of just record label conversations, just discussing things, already been in the studios, different studios for months at a time. And so by the time we met Tim, it just felt like that was like the proper next evolution. Like it wasn't like, I mean, it was cool, it was great, but it wasn't like, man, we don't deserve this. It was more like, no, this makes logical sense. We've been on a journey. We've been working hard.
You're right.
But it wasn't like, man, like this is it. This is it, y'all. No, it was like, and that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So
I'm just trying to like put this all together because I'm still in blended, bro.
I'm gonna get you a shirt, dog.
I want a shirt now. I want a blended shirt. But it's like, I'm just trying to like wrap my head around because that's just such a huge career move, and like how it just started when you were younger and how that really just shaped at least your music career.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think just your family expanding so much shaped. I
Yeah.
think
Like
if
just
wouldn't
that
have
yeah, I'm talking about like
happened,
that experience in itself, like that just shaped so much.
So much.
And what wouldn't have happened if that didn't happen?
Honestly, before we met my adopted siblings, we had like a massive trailer. And when my dad was going to retire, we were just going to go around the country and just go hit a bunch of like wildlife parks and just chill. Bro, I would have been.
I think that's my dad's dream right now.
Bro, honestly,
Sorry, but some white people shit.
yo, 1,000% man. We'd have been fishing and hunting and shooting shit. And yo, I'll probably have a heavy accent just sipping on some whiskey right now, just somewhere in bumfuck Tennessee. You know, who knows?
Drinking PBRs.
Yeah, man. And so, actually, that was me last night. No. Plot twist. And so, who knows? I've always wondered what it would have been like to turn back like the dial and just go down the rabbit hole of that for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I feel like life would still be great, but man,
so different.
So less colorful.
Yeah. And even going the military route too. That would have just changed your life drastically.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think I would have definitely gone down that route more.
Yeah.
Whatever I just said, down that route.
I understood exactly what you said.
I was like,
ADHD brain explains everything.
No, we got it.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. So that was the part of the plan for sure.
Yeah.
And that's when you were in Nashville? When the whole Timbaland thing happened?
Yeah, so the conversation started when we were in Nashville, but it was when the album was actually completed that we were back in Virginia Beach because that's where Tim was working out of. He has a big hub in Virginia Beach. And the guy that was kind of like negotiating like all these conversations, he's this DJ in Virginia Beach. I'm not going to say his name because he's an absolute asshole.
Okay.
Yeah. And my sister married his younger brother who's an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
And so... Yeah.
It's fine by me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't deserve
Fuck the assholes.
okay.
Yeah. So they don't need to be brought up.
Not shining light.
But super thankful that those conversations were had, and then we flew out. Actually, the first time we ever met Tim, we actually all flew out to California, and we were working at a studio out there, and then we were just. That was the first time I understood how his world works.
Yeah.
Because we got there maybe like 4 p.m. and we start our sessions like at like noon.
Yeah.
And we go to like 10 p.m., something like
Right.
that. That's like a normal day for us. So we get there 4 p.m. and they're like, all right, show up to the studio like at midnight.
Crazy.
like-
And we're on
That's
East
my-
Coast
that's
time.
past
So
my
that's
bedtime.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
our time.
Oh, shit.
And then the first time we actually got into the studio was 4 a.m. So it was 7 a.m.
Jesus.
And then that's when we found out, okay, the hip hop world works
Yeah.
on completely different like schedule
They're
and
whole on
time
other
and
terms.
we found out about a world that we didn't even know existed. Welcome to the hip hop world.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that was then the next while of starting sessions at midnight.
What were you doing during the day?
Sleeping.
Sleep, man.
Just thinking
Yeah.
about sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, you sleep because then you miss the sunrise
Yeah.
because you're in the studio. You come out of the studio around 12.
How was
1.
your mental health?
So
Because I mean when you don't see Bao is horrible when she doesn't have any sun in her life.
yeah. So
And I can imagine.
it's a great question. And so I lived those hours for a long time.
Yeah.
And so fast forward a couple years, it did not do well for my mental health.
Yeah.
Not seeing the sun, not taking care of certain aspects of just health. I look good physically because I was always training. I was like eating some decent stuff, but man, a couple things were just tucked away in that, cerebral cortex, and it all started popping off all at the same time. Like a couple years into that lifestyle, and that's what kind of made me kind of switch my schedule massively because it led to some crazy panic attacks.
I was gonna say, did it lead to like any depression? Like
It was a lot of anxiety. It was a lot of panic attacks. It was abusing some substances, but if that's what your entire crew is doing,
Yeah.
if that's like what everybody that you look up to, if those are their hours, and you're like, man, like they're grinding at these hours, sleep when you die.
Yeah.
It's like no sleep till Brooklyn. It's
Yeah.
like, man, fuck Brooklyn. Like we just don't sleep. But then you, in these delirious states, you would kind of hit this other little wind and you would add a little substances and you start writing weird shit that would just take off. And you're like, I want to do that.
I see it.
Yeah. It kind of like, that's part of it.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it backfired massively. And so after a couple of these crazy panic attacks, I had to have a little sit down and be like, man, nah, this ain't it.
Well, did you have to like sit yourself in front of the mirror and have that conversation with yourself, or was it someone?
So it was actually when I was coming back, I was done with New York and I was back in Virginia Beach with my new band, which was OK Mayday. And we were about to go on tour. It was like 6 months before our tour went off, and then my brain exploded. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Everything I knew, like money was good, body was good, relationship was and then my brain exploded. I was like, I don't know anything. Because I don't know if you guys have ever had a panic attack before.
Not a full blown. I maybe
Yeah.
like a mini baby one, but not like.
Man, and all right, so the best way I can describe it is, like when you go in that Dolby surround sound system and it goes the
Yeah.
Now that is every worst fear you've ever had times 100, and then your vision gets this small, and then the only thing you can think about is this is how I die.
Wow. Yeah, that would itself give me another panic attack.
Seriously.
So and then it just start. You're like,
Kinda
wait, is this
spiral.
a heart attack? Is
Yeah.
what happened? And then your heart is just like.
Yeah, you do start spiraling.
It's insane. So I was like, man. So I had to do a massive like reboot. And so my dad was going through some traumatic brain injury stuff. And so he got looped in and was doing some hyperbaric oxygen chamber dives. They use that for like stroke victims and drowning victims. But essentially they put you in a big, like almost like a submarine type steel vessel. And then they just pressurize the air to like 3 atmospheres. So we're down there like to 30 feet. And then they just pump it full of oxygen. You just breathe 100% O2 for like 60 minutes. And then it takes you 30 minutes to get depressurized.
Oh,
So it's like a reprogramming.
And so what it does is it forces
It's like they rebooted
pure, seriously. So what it does is it forces pure O2 at depth. It forces those little micro capillaries in the brain to like kind of expand. And so that's what happens a lot with like drowning victims and stroke victims. It kind of like reawakens that part of the brain, allows blood to go back where it's supposed to be. So they've noticed guys who have concussions or TBIs, that's a great way to recalibrate the brain and to get it to chemicals and blood to where it's supposed to be in the brain.
I was looking at me because I've had like 4 concussions.
He's
That's
one
why-
away from becoming like legally handicapped.
Sylvia told me that.
I was like, I don't remember if
Because
we
we
had
talked about it in
Oh, I was like,
Oaxaca.
yeah,
We told them
So
in
you're
Oaxaca.
like one hit away from being like a little vegetable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I started a podcast, so I can just
Dude, honestly.
remember me.
Honestly, like it's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
But-
it sounds expensive as hell.
But it is a life. So I did like 50 dives with my dad.
Yeah.
And then I was doing EMDR as well. So electromagnetic resonance.
I was like, I don't know about that, but I've done MDNA. So,
Same thing. Yeah. Honestly, some of the programming isn't that far off, to be honest. I'm a fan of psychedelics. So, and so the combination of those and talk therapy got me to just a new baseline. But then I just managed anxiety crazy for like the next like couple of years. Cause I was like, it was always like right on the cusp. I was like, so that's when I kind of got into learning about different, like supplements, and like my therapist had me get on like GABA and L-theanine, chamomile, like the stuff to just slow like those thoughts, like neurotransmitters and
I was
stuff
going
like
to
that.
ask you, was that like kind of the start of your fitness journey?
So again, I was always like in shape because I was like, all my friends were doing cool, badass spec op shit, and my dad was a SEAL, so I'm like, I'm not gonna be the fat fucker here.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, no, I gotta be on it. And then I was always in these really cool cities where everybody was in shape. I'm like, okay, but I was always the person in the studio who was like doing like meal prep or had shakes and had like athletic greens or something, and people were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, bro, I'm just on my grind, man. Yeah, you just do that Coke over there. I'm gonna eat my tender greens right here.
I'm gonna have my protein.
Yeah. And so, and then what happened is some of the artists, when they would go on tour, they would hit me up and they'd be like, yo, dog, I'm like, I'm dying. What was in that green shit you were drinking? What was in it? And so I started designing like some meal guides and some workouts for friends who are on the road.
Yeah.
Because I was like, honestly, unless you live that life, you don't understand. Like, very few people in the music world, when they're on tour, actually live that really nice life. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to be making some fat like coin to actually
flying in helicopters and
like to get it all taken care of. And so the average person on the road, they're just getting a lot of their stuff. You know, they're hoping they sell enough merch to go on to the next show. And so in that, there's always not a massive budget for like catering or, you know, having like everything meal prepped or having a trainer on the road. So I kind of started designing that. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to get like some accreditation. What I'm doing, I'm, you know, training a couple people in LA and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, let me do this like the real way. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like the original journey. Cause now I had like a little bit of the mental health aspect, showing artists kind of like what not to do with hours and time and circadian rhythm and having blue light. You know, not every bit of blue light is good blue light. And so it was just been a slow learning curve. So I've just like, let me just kind of save you some trouble and kind of like do it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. So how difficult or easy was it for you to make that call of like, I'm not going to go on tour, I'm just going to take care of myself?
So it actually, I ended up going on the tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it happened like far enough in advance where I was able to kind of like take care of my body. But I actually got injured right before tour.
It's like the universe is telling you something.
Nah, man, it was crazy. I did a snowboarding injury and I sprained both my wrists on one fall, but then I fell again and I didn't want to land on my wrist, so my ass took it.
No.
Sounded like weird. Anyways, but yeah, got to pay bills somehow. No, so
if I'm not going on tour,
So I landed straight on my tailbone, and then my first ever nerve damage pain started, and that's where the first time I ever heard of like sciatica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what nerve pain could like feel like. Holy shit. So if anybody out there is dealing with nerve pain, like, holy shit. All I remember is I was back in Virginia Beach a couple days later. I was driving my car and there had been a couple like tinges of pain down my left side. But I was driving and I kind of like blacked out for a second. And then I woke up and there was like someone screaming. And I was like, and I realized that was me.
Oh, shit.
And I looked at a guardrail. I'm not even shitting. I was going like 60. And I was like, if I hit this bitch, I'm going to wake up in the hospital doped up on meds. And it actually sounds like a brilliant plan right now.
God damn.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first time I ever felt nerve pain. So when people have chronic nerve pain, and then for like the next like couple months, my whole life was dictated around just fixing that. Because if I had this talking right now, I would just be sweating. I would be angry. And every question or answer would just be dictated through pain. Mm-hmm. So now...
This is why we waited so long for this interview.
Bro, seriously, you're like, bro, is your ass better?
That's why I gave you all those pillows. Like, please sit on this.
Sit on it, man. And so that was like... So the back-to-back was like mental and then that physical thing. Yeah. And then, you know, tour ended up being amazing. But it was still battling all this stuff with like some mental health, some anxiety... Mm-hmm. In that sciatica. So I was actually really just scared to sit like this in a van for like 7,000 miles.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
I actually, when I was little, fell down the stairs, and when I fell on my tailbone and like slid all the way down. And for the longest time, like I couldn't sit the way you're sitting.
No.
Even like in school, like I was in elementary school, maybe going into middle. And I remember like I would get in trouble because I would get up,
Just
but
to
I was
stand
in
up.
pain.
Yep.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like even like long car drives,
Yep.
like we needed to stop very often.
Yeah.
Like
we were
it's
able to get
horrible
it to
pain.
a point where I was able to lay down like on the back seat of,
okay.
of the tour van.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is horrible pain. My mom suffers from sciatic pain, and I think when she first started getting the attacks, I still lived at home, and she would scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would scream, or sometimes just the pain in itself would give her lockjaw. And there was a point where I would have to carry her like
Yeah.
downstairs and put her on the couch.
Yeah.
And that was pretty traumatic because I was pretty young, and I was like, "This is the way my mom dies," and I'm just carrying her down the stairs because I'm like, as I'm crying,
'Cause you don't
because my mom
understand
can't
what it
walk.
is,
Bro.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck, like I don't know what's happening. Is she gonna be in a wheelchair? Like, how do I take this pain away? So like, it's a very traumatic.
Well, I felt like a
pain.
little bitch because I was like, I'll be honest, like girls have a much higher pain tolerance than
tolerance.
guys. Like honestly, if
Yeah.
we had to go through like period cramps every
Yeah.
month,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it'd be guaranteed week paid off like every month. Like, yo, we would be like the world would be set.
The other day I got a cramp and I almost cried, and
Bro,
probably just
it's
looked at me like, what the
bro,
fuck?
just stepped over
Yeah.
you. Just like, bye. And so I looked on the pain threshold. It's like, it's up there though. It's like childbirth, like breaking a femur. There's like one other thing, and then it's like sciatica.
Yeah, no, I've heard.
So
it's
it's not. So that made me feel like a little bit better.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay,
I'm a man.
Yeah, I'm a man. But man, I threw everything at it for like 5 months to fix it. So my hat and dry needling was the biggest thing that helped me. It's illegal here in California, but if you can find a place that
It's only illegal if you get caught.
Exactly, my guy. So that was like a game changer for me.
Yeah. How did you stay motivated through all that? Because that's a lot to go through. You mean you're having panic attacks, you're fucking sciaticas. It's like,
I think because I had perspective and I had traveled so much too, and my world was already so big, and I was always looking forward to something. I always had something massive like every year I was looking forward to. I was like, no, we've been planning to go on tour. We have all the tour dates booked out. We have
to do
like
it.
everything set up. I'm not gonna not do that. And so when there is no plan B, your plan A has to like fucking work.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't, what was I doing? Oh, I was dealing poker at the time to make some money on the road. Cause I wasn't writing any sessions in LA. I was back in Virginia Beach rehearsing everything. And so I remember I was just taking any money I was making dealing poker and just throwing it at chiropractor care and like dry needling, therapy. I spent so much money on that, like 6 months. I threw everything at it.
well, you had
You
to.
had
You wanted
to,
to get
yeah.
better.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
was like,
So-
I probably would
so
try to
I
find
think-
anything
I
too.
think when you say is how do you stay motivated when you don't have an option?
Yeah.
It's like, what is the alternative?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna hit a guardrail? Like that is the other option. It's like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that made me feel a little bit more people who get, addicted to like pain pills and stuff like that. Cause that was an easy pill.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
When we first started talking about my weight loss journey, I had told you it was like I had so much shoulder pain and like back pain to an extent where I was like low key addicted to naproxen.
Yeah.
Like I would take it like fucking candy. There's days I didn't even
there
need
was a
it.
point where I started hiding them.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a point where Bao started hiding the
Because the
naproxen.
Naproxen, it's just like high speed, like ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So fatty
But
liver
he was
stuff.
getting it prescribed, so it was like really strong.
Yeah.
I mean, because like Aleve is technically naproxen.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just
yeah.
taking it left and right. And then I was like, well, it was a lot. It was like a lot of injuries that had like slowly started to creep up.
For sure.
You add the weight on top of that. So it was like, and then the gout. So it was like, I was just consistently in pain.
Bro.
And then when I wasn't, I was just so traumatized of the pain that I would take anything
Preventative.
to prevent it. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
There's no more naproxen in this
There's,
house.
yeah.
Bro, why'd you ask me to bring you some?
No, I'll take it only when it's like severe. Because my dad, he has chronic pain too, and he takes it.
Got it.
I only take like half a tablet only if I like
Got it.
absolutely
Yeah.
fucking need it. But I had to taper off of it for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I can see how easy it is.
Mm-hmm.
It just to get any addiction, especially when you're on the road. how easy it is. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
That's good. What I did want to ask though, because I know you did have a long trajectory from you were touring since you were 14.
Yeah.
He's on the world tour.
Yeah. Is there a specific like memorable moment that you could say kind of shaped your life? Or it doesn't really have to be one specific moment, or maybe something that just right off the dome was like, you know what, if this wouldn't have happened, I might not be the person who I am right now.
Adopting 7 children.
Besides your 7 adopted family members.
Yeah. I think there's probably a defining moment in like each of those like big chapters. Because again, if I wasn't doing it with like my siblings or especially like my brother, I don't know if I would have stayed in the music game like as long. I think when we signed our deal with like Interscope Records and with Timbaland, that was a huge moment on the career side of things. And that let us just see the inner workings of like how our major record label like works, and seeing how it doesn't work. And you don't really understand the industry until you're like really fucked by it.
Yeah.
And so I think the pros and cons of being, you know, part of a major record label was an extremely defining moment of like the world you saw as like just black and white. Just like, nah, there's so many other like nuances and colors now. That was a huge moment. I would have to say going on our first big tour was also really big because, again, I had helped artists stay healthy while being on the road, but I actually had never been on the road myself, like in the sense of like to that degree. So being on the road for like 6 months was like, man,
I
like,
understand it.
This is crazy. Yeah. Like this takes a lot of work. This takes a lot of work. And then just in the childhood that I had, the upbringing, having the differences of like being like spec ops, like military dad, religious, biracial, adoptive family in Virginia. I mean, Richmond, Virginia is where shit popped off in the Civil War. So you got some, 20 miles from where we are, people are still flying Confederate flags.
Wow.
Still to this day.
Oh,
wow.
There's a place called Pungo. And man, it's got some weird shit out there.
It sounds like it has some weird shit.
And it's like Southern pride. And so it's like, man, like, okay. And there's also, there's just interesting shit down there. And so I think I was just blessed to have such a culturally rich, diverse upbringing. And so it's really hard to like, so many people poured into our family and so many memories that unless I like go back and just like on the Rolodex and check everything, it's so hard just to like pinpoint some stuff like that. But yeah, I remember that first deal we signed with Tim was a huge, that was the first time I ever felt like, oh, we got it. And then dog, we did not have it. That's like, man, that was just the next phase into music. Yeah.
You guys down for a quick break?
Yeah.
I gotta pee real quick. Sorry, I feel like it's a good place to pause. That was a good little lead off. Jesus pause.
Vive con huevos, compa, lo que es. Casi una vez dije que.
And we're back.
Jesus, we're back.
All right. Well, I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
We have. This could go on. We do say this a lot. This could go on forever.
I think, when we have Sylvia and Kelly both on.
Brace yourselves.
The same podcast.
Brace
the
yourselves.
same
Game over.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a 5-part episode.
It's just gonna be a continuous.
The rest of they're just our new co-hosts.
And then you're just gonna just like stream us sleeping here and just wake up, start the podcast up in the morning.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
That 6
People
month
actually
thing.
get paid to do that.
Let's get that.
Yeah.
studio.
Your mic is on, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
My bad. I was just
Yeah. You're.
trying not to block my pretty face. That's what my mom said.
No, it's crazy what people get paid for on the internet.
Bro, I'm 2 weeks away from selling these feet pics.
Same. No, I'm not.
We
I'm
say that,
fucking
but-
a day away from it.
Yeah.
It's actually got to be pretty difficult now because everybody says it, and that shit's got to be pretty inundated and just like
super overly saturated.
So I've actually have done a lot of research on it because at one point I was like, it's feet. Like,
It's
what are
feet.
you gonna do with pictures of my feet, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. And I did a lot of research, and there's just a lot of work that goes behind it because you actually have to like promote your feet. It's not just like, oh, here's a picture, who wants it? And there was a girl that was saying like, if you would have started doing it 8 years ago, like, yeah, you'd be making so much money by now, but like you could still make money. It's just a lot harder now because it's oversaturated.
What's like content creating and like podcasting, if you want to like talk about it?
Yeah.
So we kind of started towards the tail end of when everybody started their podcast.
For sure.
So like all the OGs, like obviously they have like pretty great views and clicks and whatever. The algorithm is just amazing. But then now we started it as like newer podcasts, and it's like just like so overly saturated that we had to like work.
There's more.
Yeah, there's more to it. There's a lot more competition. Yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of all that competition,
Hey.
well, I guess that is a competition. Your fitness journey.
Oh.
Your fitness journey, tying that in a little bit. And we like Bao said, we barely scratched the surface with like your music, with all the music industry stuff.
Oh my
Puta
God.
madre. With all the music industry
dijo?
stuff.
To today, Junior. Yeah.
Damn, that was horrible. But now a lot of your success, you can attribute it now to your physical journey, your physical and mental health journey.
Yeah.
How did all that tie in, and when did the music kind of stop and you were like, let's pivot and work on this now?
Yeah. So in the sense of like the music has never stopped. It's always been like and so the fitness stuff has always given me an opportunity to kind of like work with artists on a whole different level. Because when you're really ingrained in a studio session and you're working with somebody, like you have some really intimate, weird, awkward, fun, emotional moments and stuff like that. And then if I have the opportunity to then talk about like their sleep health and then talking about like, okay, what is their like, oh, I hear the snoring.
Yeah,
now. That's
it's
amazing. She's going in. What they're eating is, talking about blue zones and talking about what actually their optimal day looks like and then repeating it as often as they can. So I've actually been working with one of my buddies, Angel. His name's Angel Lopez. Shout out Angel. He's Jack Harlow's executive producer. But we met when I was working with Timbaland, but he's done a lot of stuff with like Kanye and Coldplay and just had a huge feature on Coldplay's last album that just dropped. And so he's killing it. But I helped him drop 100 pounds. Wow. And it was through basic, boring shit. It was like, stop the alcohol.
He looks at me.
Yeah. Stop the fucking alcohol,
I felt
bro.
the stare. I was like, shit.
Yeah. So
awkward.
So it was cutting out alcohol, cutting out all processed food, walking, and then just increasing protein. And just by cutting out the alcohol, what that did for sleep, and therefore his metabolic functions and his body's ability to heal while he's sleeping because he's getting proper REM and deep sleep, and then working out and getting the right amount of protein so you're not only losing body fat but you're building muscle and stuff like that. So seeing what that does for somebody and then the art that they create out of it was really encouraging. And I was like, cool. So I've been trying to help artists cultivate different lifestyles and kind of like their day-to-day that's based around creativity and wellness.
Okay.
So because music and fitness are forever going to go hand in hand. But the biggest juxtaposition for me was I would be in these crazy like sessions and hip hop and just like loud, drugs and alcohol and horrible food. And then 2 months later, people are working out and getting in shape to the song that was created in the most fucked up environment.
Yes, true. That's always so crazy to think about.
It's like if you saw the genesis of this and where it is now, but then it's just like, but that's the lifestyle. But now you're seeing a lot of these people kind of switching over, like Tim got on his game. He doesn't drink alcohol anymore. He's like boxing every day. He's lifting weights. You got like Fat Joe ain't fat anymore.
Yeah.
You got like Pooh Bear.
We saw him at Coachella.
We saw him at
and we were
Coachella.
like, oh my God.
Yeah. Like
We started saying Ozempic Joe.
Yo, and so a lot of these people have these gut checks where it's like, yo, if you continue down this route, like everybody has a time and a place, but it might be way sooner than you're ever anticipating it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, I never wanted to be fully into fitness. And I always knew that I wanted to do something even a little bit more than just music. And so I'm finding a nice little marriage between both of those worlds right now, even though that's been like in a very unhealthy marriage for so long. And so I'm hoping some of the relationships that I've cultivated can maybe start switching. And I have some friends doing some really cool things in LA and in Europe around the same theme. And so I know that I'm not just like off my rocker for thinking this. I think a lot of people are like,
actually searching for or want it. That's really cool because I feel like you were able to find the two things that you really care about or, find a lot of passion in and bring it together.
Yeah.
And like make it work for your, for you, So that's really cool.
We're trying.
Yeah.
It's, I've definitely, since I left my last job, being a writer at Sony, like a year and a half ago,
that was pretty recent. Then.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. And so I was like, I needed to take some time and not write because of my contract and stuff like that. And so I got really into fitness because I had to pay bills and stuff like that. But then part of me is just like, yo, I'm doing so much of this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough creativity. And it's really put a huge dent in my soul as well. So now I'm having a much healthier balance where I'm like, okay, got it. I can't play around with this anymore. Like there's a part of me, it's big with like fashion, with fitness and wellness, but I still need to keep that creativity. Like,
Well, it's ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Since such a young age.
Yeah.
So I found out that I'm best when I'm like 20% healer wellness and then like 80% creativity. Right now, at this current moment, I would say it's completely inverted.
Okay.
Just because of just how life has happened in the last like year and a half. But I'm hell bent on getting back into that equilibrium.
Little by little.
Yeah.
You'll get there for sure.
We're trying.
And if you don't want to talk about this, we can totally skip. But what made you leave your job at Sony?
It was actually just ownership.
Okay.
And the way that certain contracts are designed, it's not always in the writer's benefit. And so we would sign with like a publishing company or record label, and they would pay like a sum of money, and you could live on that for like 3 or 4 years or something like that. And so after signing a couple of those, you just start seeing that ownership is everything. Having like you be able to own your masters, and those are just different terminologies when it comes to like publishing and writing and ownership, and so the more that we were looking into it, we're like, we got to be able to own all of our stuff. And at the point that we were with Sony, it was just so expensive for us to buy our masters back, like really expensive. And so I had to forfeit over like 600 songs, and like 12 years of work, and then get out of that deal.
God damn.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to sound ignorant, but isn't that kind of what happened with like T Swift and like she with her songs?
Scooter and stuff like that? Yeah. So Scooter bought the record company, like Big Machine.
Yeah.
Or the publishing wing that she was a part of. And so what happened is any royalties that those songs would make would now go to Scooter. And because I guess when she signed her deal, she probably signed like her masters away. So what she did is then, there was a clause in her contract, and what they have is like, if you re-record the same song, it becomes a new master.
Oh.
And so that's why she re-records. That's why she re-released, because now she can actually own those new masters. Those original masters, now Scooter and his investment team that fucked over Bieber, and that's a whole nother thing that's coming out now.
Yeah.
Crazy. But he owns all those. So when you then take the same record, re-record it literally like verbatim, but now it's a new digital footprint and that's a new master. Now you can own that. So I had to give up all the masters that I wrote over the years that were making money, and then I got out of my deal, but now everything I write moving forward, I own.
Okay.
So it was like a small, like, well, it was a big step backwards because I didn't have like a constant paycheck every month or every year. And I was like, you know, in a new relationship, and that was great. And but then my goal is to like write bangers for the next like 10, 15, 20 years. And then I own everything, and then I can sell my catalog.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's an idea, but at least I have ownership now.
Yeah.
And I can dictate.
You have control. Yeah.
I have control. And so I think when there's a lot of new artists and they go into a record label or a publishing house, or they get super excited because they just throw this, like these money figures and stuff like that. But if you don't have ownership, it's like, no.
I mean, yeah,
we're
you're
kind
not
of,
really
yeah.
getting anything
Yep.
out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So be careful with the terms and conditions, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always read the
100%.
small print.
Read the small print. Batteries not included.
No, I mean, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I actually didn't know why you had left your job at Sony. So that's really interesting. But to me, it really, I mean, we can kind of go into your biggest project that just recently
Yeah, so I did
happened.
want to talk about that a lot. You just came back from India,
I was in India.
and I mean, you saw a little bit of a snippet, and that was, I don't know if I could say that, but
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, yeah.
and that was beautiful. And then,
Yeah.
you know, I've been on kind of this trip this past year of kind of finding my life purpose, because for like just the longest time I've felt like I don't know where I belong in life.
Yeah.
You know, I've kind of like you, I've had a lot of different careers. I've had a lot of different paths, a lot of them that I've quit because I just didn't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And then this Oaxaca trip, it's funny, someone in our group chat just said that they kind of came back with a new perspective in life. They kind of like a rebirth.
Is that
Patricio.
Patricio said it, yeah.
So mad I wasn't on that trip.
Oh man, such a beautiful trip. But when I read that, I kind of came back with that kind of same perspective and that kind of that same energy where I kind of had a shift when I was there. And I was so happy that we went to Oaxaca with the group that we did. Unfortunately, you weren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad we weren't able to share
all
that
missed
moment
you.
with you. Yeah. But I
Sylvia
really
cried.
Yeah.
I'll be at the wedding.
Yeah.
I know, bro. I just
It's okay.
I'm still in the
It's okay,
doghouse
yeah.
for that one.
But I really did come back with another perspective in life and what angle I want to have with at least Vive con Huevos in my life and the next year and projects that I want to handle. And then seeing the video when you came back from India and the small snippet, it kind of just wrapped everything together about like just like life purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And I just feel, sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but
Send
I
it.
just feel like because of the industry that we are in, whether it's podcasting, music, entrepreneurship right now, is just like we're just in this world of like constant comparison. You know, what is the next podcaster doing? What is the next musician doing? What guests did they have? How can I top that? And we kind of lose sight of the value of life. You know, we're just so wrapped up with the likes and the shares and the comments and the algorithm that when you travel outside of the US, you lose sight of that. You forget that there's a whole other world that exists without the shares and the likes and the comments. It just exists.
It's
in its
very
purest,
present.
most beautiful form. Life just exists and people coexist. And there's just this, like you were talking about, there's just this symbiotic thing between being and nature and life and not having to worry about what the fuck another person thinks about you. You know? But then you come back to the States and then just reverts, and it's just this vicious fucking cycle where I'm just consistently worried about my views and my likes and my comments and my fucking algorithm and how am I gonna make the next dollar. And you taking that trip to India just really gave me like an outside perspective view of like, there's a whole ass still other world that I haven't gone to. Where they just live in isolation and they don't give a shit about any of this. You know, and that's crazy. So I kind of want to talk about your India trip.
No, thanks for sharing that. And even talking about comparison, I mean, I know it's been told a lot, but comparison is the thief of joy, and it's really easy to preach that. But then when you're working in industries where you have no choice but to kind of like see what everybody else is doing to make sure you're on your shit, and it's like, but at the end of the day, you release it, and as much as you think about it, 99.999% of the people don't even think that deep into it at all. And so you're just like, this constant wheel of comparison, and it is draining. And I do understand like how mentally taxing and physically taxing that is. And so when I had the opportunity to go to India, one of my buddies, Josh, shout out Josh, I saw he was in India like in June or in July, and they were shooting a documentary like around the Dalai Lama and compassion and empathy. And I've always wanted to go to India. I knew growing up I was either going to be a musician, like a National Geographic photographer, or try to do something like what my dad did. Mm-hmm. Well, those were the three things. And India was always on the Nat Geo world because of the tigers, just the nature, just everything about it just seemed so exotic. Like it just was like my dream place. And also my first book I ever remember reading was Tenzing Norgay and Sir Edmund Hillary, the two guys that climbed Everest first. And so those Nepali Sherpas, but always the Himalayas. And I knew where we were going. It was the base of the Himalayas. Yeah. Oh, wow. And I was like, man, like, so I was seeing where they were going. I was like, so I messaged my buddy Josh and I was like, hey man, like if you guys ever need like sound or whatever for this, whatever you're working on, I didn't know what they were necessarily working on. Let me know. And then he's like, you like being serious? I was like, he's like, let me hit you back like a couple minutes. And then I got on a FaceTime call with the producer, Dr. Natalie. She's a brilliant physicist. And I got brought on to the second leg of the India trip for the Dalai Lama and his monks, and based around empathy. And so my job on this trip is, first off, like exactly what you're talking about, just sitting and being present and realizing how much of the world exists outside of our little social media bubble in the United States. I mean, India has like 1.5 billion people,
It's chaotic.
Bro, that's 1.2 billion people more than the United States, or 1.1 billion more, a billion more people. And so, and then I've been just thankfully been around some brilliant artists and talking about different frequencies and what those healing frequencies are. And so my job was to capture some of these artists in India playing their instruments, and then working with local Tibetan and Indian composers and artists, and creating the soundtrack in certain frequencies. So as you're watching the documentary, it's actually going to be healing your brain at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it actually has to be measured scientifically. So all the stuff I'm going to be creating, it's not just going to feel good, but it has to be measured against actual data and science.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a little, I've never done something like that before. I know how to make a banger, but I don't know how to like, is it really hitting like 528 hertz right there?
Yeah.
Like, is it, so it's.
Well, that's something pretty cool to add to your resume, bro.
Very,
on top of what you already have.
So, and so very, 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 very grateful to be brought along on this trip. And that's why, I didn't make it to Oaxaca, because I got back like 2 days before y'all left. And it feels like, and Dharamshala is like 12 and a half hours ahead. Okay. I didn't even know a half hour time zone existed.
I didn't either. I thought it was all by hours.
No, it's a half hour time zone. So, yeah.
The more you know.
Bro.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's super awesome that like that's what you're doing with them. But how was your experience in India itself, like outside of recording?
It was when we landed in Delhi, I can't emphasize like just the weight of that many people and also the smog and the smell. That was like I knew it was going to be a lot, but I didn't realize it was going to be that much. And I was like, whoa, like that's a lot.
I'm in another world.
That's a whole nother world. So I didn't actually get to explore too much of India, because we were there for like a day and then we took a little small plane up to Dharamshala. And that's a beautiful mountain town where the Dalai Lama has rebuilt, you know, a town.
So that's where you spent your entire
the
time.
entire 2.5 weeks was in Dharamshala.
When Silvia told us that you were going to India, all I thought about were these street food TikToks that Mario and I have watched on TikTok.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, Kelly's gonna die over there. Like, there's no way he makes it through with the food.
So one of our really dear friends, her family, they were missionaries in India for 26 years.
Oh, wow.
And so she gave me like
rundown.
a 3-page like
Love
email.
that. I'm gonna need that.
Yeah.
And she was like, do not do this, do this, do not do this, do this, do not do that. Just like straight out the game. She's like, and don't play around. And I was like, okay, cool. So where we were was a little more timid. If I was in actual like more India, rural India, I think that would have been a different story.
Yeah.
But what the Dalai Lama has built in Dharamshala was a little more tepid, a little more tame.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no street food.
So I stayed away from the street food. I had bottled water. We were staying in beautiful places where they're used to for foreign people coming all the time.
Yeah.
And so they're not gonna.
So it's built kind of
built.
for
Yeah.
that. Okay.
There's a
built
couple
for
things
Kelly.
where I appreciate the prayers though, because I was eyeing everything. And then like a weekend, there's a couple times I was having fruit and salad and I was like, this could be it.
Yeah.
This is what my godmom told me not to get, but I'm gonna fuck around and find out.
Well, yeah, because like you don't think about those things, like the salad gets washed with their water, you know? When I don't know if you know this story, but like long story short, I went to Costa Rica about a year ago and I got really sick out there. And when we first got there, like I know better than to drink the water in any other country, you know?
Sure.
But when we first got there, they were like, oh, like the water here is drinkable, like we drink it. Yeah. And so they swore up and down. And I didn't even have like regular water. I had like a fruit water, and I didn't even think about the fact that like
they
make
marinated
it with,
that water with fruit.
Yeah.
A salad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't even like think that through, you know? Yeah. I got Giardia. Like I almost died out there. Like I thought I was gonna die. Yeah.
She almost died a year ago. Yeah.
I wanted to fly back home because of how sick I felt.
Oh,
but
Giardia is
I
horrible.
wouldn't have made it through like the plane flight. Like the flight. Like I was So I ended up like having to go to the doctor. Like I ended up like at the doctor's and they had to give me like an IV bag because I was super dehydrated. It became this whole thing.
Yeah.
But So
that's
like,
what.
if I almost died in Costa Rica, Kelly's gonna die in India.
Nah, have some faith in your gringo friend. You know, we're all right. We're a little cultured here. No, it was that, and then I have a friend here in San Diego who's from India, and she gave me like all the local bug spray, like a little care package to go. And she's like, "Don't even worry about bug spray from here. Use this one. It's called Automos, and it is
Just
crack.
Works.
Yes." So yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to know you
Crack
had
is
all
probably
the
not
things.
the best. Yeah, I was just sniffing it all day. All right,
That's why I was wired.
I didn't sleep at all. Yeah.
Well, it's funny when we went to Oaxaca. Right now in Latin America, there's been a huge dengue outbreak.
Oh yeah.
That was huge in Dharamshala, and that's what had me watching out for.
Yeah, so we got bit one of the nights where I got fucking devoured one day.
Sylvia's ankles are still fucked up.
Mine for like a week after. I was like, why the fuck do I still have this shit? But like I had told our wedding coordinator, I think I was like, she's like, oh, how's everything going? And I was like, yeah, good, except for the fucking mosquitoes. And she's like, oh, well, just pray you don't get dengue. And I was like, well, great.
Yeah.
Was not thinking about
I think that happened to us the time we went to look at the wedding venues
Oh, yeah,
too.
the first
because
time.
I was like, oh, I had just gotten bit, and she was like, there's dengue here. No, it's like, you didn't think to tell me that before.
Yo, that's like my worst fear is getting like one of those like diseases in a different country.
Yes.
Like, that's when you start thinking like, Okay, this might be worth a $40,000 hospital visit, but you know,
Facts. Well, that's how I felt in Costa Rica. I was like, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I might just go bankrupt out here, but I have to. Like,
We almost
I have
flew
to
out that
go.
time.
Yeah.
Her mom and I
My
were
mom
like-
was ready to take a helicopter out
Yeah.
there. Like, she was.
We're gonna go find her.
Yeah.
And bring her back.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I had a good time, except those 4 days I was almost dying. But
yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
it's
What's
all right.
life?
We made it. I have a story to tell now.
Yeah.
No, so I made some incredible friends over there. I think my biggest takeaway is how kind and how present people are there. And then everybody's just like, that was my first time around that many Buddhists. And so I was expecting maybe like different confrontations, more like dialogue, and everybody's like, nah, man, we love Jesus. Like he's like the man.
They're all rocking rosaries and shit.
So two things: how present and how kind. But then also some of the Buddhist monks, I realized that like how unhealthy they were.
Really?
All of them have pot bellies and really skinny arms,
Huh.
like really shitty diets.
Yeah.
But they're spiritually clean.
Healthy. Yeah.
But the temple that they reside in is just not so good. So we actually became friends with the Dalai Lama's physical therapist, and she was staying in the hotel with us. And so I got to pick her brain about, you know, when she works on His Holiness. And it was just beautiful hearing like her stories, the stories that we were creating, the friendships that we were just like all like creating at the same time. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How was meeting the Dalai
I
Lama?
was about to ask that. I was like, I feel like we're skipping the biggest step right now.
So we tried to get as many audiences with him as possible. He just had a crazy knee surgery.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why his physical therapist from New York was there. And so they weren't really doing any like interviews for him at
His
all.
physical therapist is from New York? Mm-hmm. I was like, hold on, we just skipped over there.
Yeah. So he had an operation in New York. And so
Okay.
they flew one of the physical therapists to Dharamshala to be with him while
I guess
he
that makes
recovers.
sense. I don't know why that was so surprising to me.
Yeah. So they're like, we're not gonna like second chances. But
Yeah.
what I feel is gonna happen is when he got really sick and injured, and she's been nursing him back to health, there hasn't been really a focus on the physical health of any of the monks. And so I think what his journey, because everybody's been really depressed when he's been injured, they're like, he's going to go just downhill.
Oh, no.
Now with physical therapy and what Carol Ann's doing, I think everybody's kind of seeing like, oh, if you actually take care of your body, a little pitfall like this doesn't have to be the end of your journey. This could just be a little hiccup, and then you just keep going. And so I'm hoping that this is going to change actually some of the lifestyles of some of the monks there. Because when you go to different parts of Asia, like the Shaolin monks, wellness and fitness are built into it.
Yeah.
Different monasteries, not so much. And so,
Interesting.
yeah,
That
that was
is.
I was actually really surprised.
I,
Yeah, because
I
you'd
feel
think
like
they
I'd
would be like one and one. It was
Nope.
like physical and
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. So, yeah, so we got to meet him very briefly, have a little conversation, but then it was the rest of the time it was with his cabinet. It was with the Secretary General of like Tibet. It was the ambassador. It was like his sister. It was working with artists at TIPA, so the Tibetan Institute for Performing Arts. It was working with a beautiful crew at his AI program. So they're taking all the transcripts and scrolls that they're smuggling still from Tibet, because China, like, you know, that whole journey is like insane. And they're transcribing them and putting them into digital formats. And so you can read them all digitally. They're taking all the Tibetan languages, putting them in all like the different dialects, and so people can learn the languages that are being lost. Because it's really about exterminating like a whole culture, which is like kind of nuts. It is. It's kind of crazy. So
I didn't even realize all of that was going on.
yeah. So our friend Tenzin, who is ahead of the AI program there, she's brilliant. She's also like a power lifter too. Like, and so she's won like some like bodybuilding competitions as a Tibetan woman, which is like a whole nother conversation because women over there aren't supposed to work out and like have muscles. So
She's very traditional.
no, well, she's
true,
breaking, she's breaking all the rules and stuff like that. So she's, we met some very incredibly like beautiful people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have plans to going back?
So the goal is to have it done by May so we can submit it to the Darmstadt Film Festival, which will be in November of next year.
Oh, okay.
So the goal is to get it at that film festival.
What else are they presenting at the film festival? Is it all like just,
So
does it all revolve around the same theme?
No, so ours would be just completely unique in we have some friends that were there because it's currently going on or it just ended like this year's film festival. So they just said everything, I mean, just like a normal like Sundance. So you have every genre,
That's really cool.
is there. So it's just like one of the, but it's a really like esteemed and has a lot of acclaim to it. So
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
good luck. I know you're gonna make it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's,
It's
it's
gonna
fun.
be so awesome.
It's fun. Yeah. That was a wild trip though.
Yeah. How long were you out there for?
2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah. How did that camera work for you?
Beautiful. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Did you see any of the photos that I
I
that
did,
took?
yeah.
Yeah. I was actually kind of salty why I didn't go to Oaxaca is because of that, like, that place was made for like a Fuji, like
Oh,
just
yeah.
the film presets and the way they treat color and light. That's just like,
Well, we talked about that with because we did one of our shoots out there, and then
Oh, yeah,
Bob
our
makes fun of me because I love color. Like you look at my pictures, I was like saturation at its fucking fullest, you
He
know?
likes a
Like,
lot of-
yeah,
yeah.
I'll just give me
Overdone.
all the color.
Yeah.
And Oaxaca is really meant for that. I mean, the colors are so vibrant, and even when you take pictures on the phone, like it just does not do it justice.
No.
Not at all.
No,
Yeah.
I was making fun of him with the photographer because he was asking me about like, oh, do you want to use this wall and this wall? And I was just saying yes to everything. Like, I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, Mario's gonna love these pictures because there's gonna be so much color. And I'm more of like the neutral girl, you know, where I'm like downplaying the colors a little. Like I do love color, but I'm like, well, I'd like a little subtle touch more. So I was like, Mario's gonna love these pictures, but. Yeah.
Nah, that was the little salty moment, but thankfully I was, Sylvia and some of my family blessed me with that camera right before I left, and I was like, that was such a blessing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that other one, the other documentary that I sent you.
Yeah, that one was good too, just because it does really tie into what you're doing currently.
Yep.
And it is really empowering too when you have people that are on the same journey.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it with Sylvia actually. With one of our friends was like, I don't want to go to the gym until I lose weight.
Yeah.
Because I want to look not good, but I want to feel good when I get in there. And and it gets intimidating because, you're there, you kind of just feel kind of shied out, especially if you go alone, you don't know what you're doing. And then you're working with this group now that's like, it's empowering.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So it's a documentary that's coming out. So I've gone from not doing any documentaries, doing scores, to now I'm doing 2 currently. This one's called the Anti-Diet Diet Club, and it follows 6 people that have lost like, I think 1,600 pounds combined between all 6 people.
I did see something about like 14, 16.
Yeah. And then, and so just their journey of weight loss surgery, the mentality around it, the routine. And then someone that we are grateful to be along the journey is Dr. Lane Norton, who's like goes by BioLane, and he's like the guru when it comes to calling out people on bullshit with like supplements or just fat loss tips.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And I think I've sent you some of Lane Norton's stuff before.
Yeah.
And so for Josh to get Lane involved on this, I think it's such an important topic because we've spent so much money in this country on healthcare, yet we still have the most like obese and unhealthy like people. Yeah. And it's like, why? Like it's so much more than just food. It's so much more about mentality, mindset, like lifestyle, upbringing, all these things that are trauma, like all these things are like built into it. And it's like, it's more than just like, hey, just put like the fried chicken down. It's way more layered. So this one ties in some of those nuances that I think a lot of people can identify with. And then thankfully I'm able to do the music and the score on this one as well. So again, fitness and music kind of just blending in So this is the first time actually I get to work on a project like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
That's
it's
super cool.
Yeah.
This music's gonna be like hypnotizing
Seriously,
you.
yeah, no, but the mental aspect to like losing weight is huge because we talked about it when we first started on my weight loss journey, where it was, at least coming from like a first generation Latino family, a lot of my trauma was stress eating because I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And I still continue that to this day, where if I'm stressed out, I gravitate towards like wanting to go buy a bag of chips, and that's what I want to, that's what I'm craving.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want. And it's so hard to get yourself unstuck from that mentality and like, no, this is also unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk about my trauma a little bit and what the fuck is stressing me
Yeah,
out
yeah,
versus
yeah,
like
for sure.
gravitating towards that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that came from holding in my emotions when I was younger, or not being able to feel like I can express myself when I was younger, because it was just, I would get like reprimanded for having my own fucking feelings.
Yep.
You know? And I feel like that, at least for a lot of Latino men, we kind of, I'm just speaking for Latino men because obviously, but it's just, I just feel like we deal with that a lot, especially when we do have father figures who had that kind of like macho mentality where it's like, no, you can't have feelings. No, you can't cry. Just fucking get over it and then get to work, basically.
Yeah.
And that mental aspect of like losing weight is just so hard. And then like that whole, like, I got to lose weight before I go to the gym. Like, no, your sole purpose to go to the gym is to lose weight, or at least to get healthy. So it's just like psyching yourself out of that. And like I said, just having the opportunity to have that group that's doing it together is amazing.
Yeah.
And then you being a part of it too. I mean, because like I said, it's like the way you look at life. Sorry, excuse me. It's just so motivational, you know, and that's partially why, the biggest reason why I like working with you so much. And then, well, we are going to do the giveaway too with you, because like I just feel like you just have such a great perspective on life, and you're just so well rounded that you just kind of know. Like you said, you could call people out on their bullshit.
For sure.
And one of the biggest conversations.
While still being understanding.
Yeah. And one of the biggest. And
Pre-mental breakdown probably wouldn't have been so understanding. And now I'm just like.
Now you're like, all right, Mario.
All right. Let's unpack it a little bit more.
And then something that like has really stuck with me, at least now, especially for the wedding, is like, I forgot one of the last conversations we had, like one of our last check-ins.
I remember this one.
Yeah. And you're like, Mario, you're never gonna not regret going to the fucking gym. It's like, think about the wedding pictures and think about how you're gonna look. Like you're gonna regret the bag of chips and instead of you being like, fuck, I should have gone to the gym.
Yeah. I think I phrased it in like, you're gonna regret looking at wedding photos, wishing that you actually did the work.
Yeah. That's exactly what it
Well,
is.
whatever you told him worked, because he's been actually going to the gym.
And I was like, bro, because you're gonna take those wedding photos one time, and you're like, yo, you don't want to be like, God damn it, like I actually should have done it.
Yeah,
I should have done it. So no, I'm proud of you, and it is such a mental thing. And even as someone who helps people do it on a professional level now, it's still a mental fuckery for me.
Yeah.
Because I was just talking to Powell, where it's like, sometimes it's just, when you know the boring shit works, it does get boring.
Yeah.
It's like going to sleep at the same time is boring. Waking up at the same time is boring. Eating a lot of the same stuff is boring. But it's like finding joy in the repetition is like the biggest thing that it's like, okay, cool. And then when you go out and you have fun, you know, but then get back to the boring shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's funny, after Oaxaca, like I was itching to get back and starting working out. And I was like, Mario a year ago wouldn't have given a shit. Like I would have just came back to start drinking again and going out and eating. But like I came back and I was like, I gotta hit the gym like right now. At least the sauna. Like I gotta sweat. Like something.
Yeah. I mean, it's the little changes, you know?
Yeah. There is something before we start wrapping things up, because speaking of your bedtime, I know it's almost your bedtime.
Silvia's gonna hate us.
I had that whiskey last night and I didn't sleep at all. So I'm in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Sorry, Silvia.
Something before we do start wrapping things up. I wanna know how you define success now versus when you were really stuck in the music industry, and then now current Kelly. Or how it's gradually changed from industry to industry or career to career.
Or has it always been the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I still have certain goals that I've not even come close to on the music side. So for me, the success now is about just, I guess, like time management and who I get to spend like my time like with. For me, that's like a true measure of success now. Like I get to wake up to like the most amazing partner every day. And for me, that's like a game changer because I've been with partners in the industry and where they just make your life living hell or they don't understand it. And everything is like, you know, touch and go and just like so fragile. So to be with a partner who understands the nuances, understands that it's a journey, understands that that it's like certain chapters and the ebbs and flows. To me, that's such a mark of like, okay, I did something right because there's no way I should like have a bad bitch like this. Like, you know, so that's a huge mark of success for me. Second thing is ownership. I don't think I ever put that much emphasis on ownership. And now that I'm at this stage, everything, whether it's like investing, you know, any stuff that we want to do with real estate and music, it's all about ownership. And you have to know it.
Yeah.
And you can't put that in like anybody else's hands. I don't trust anybody in the sense of like I need to be able to do it and I need to understand it. Because again, you don't understand an industry until you've been like really like, you know, screwed by it.
No.
And that's happened a couple times. And now I've looked people dead in the face like this and then just tell me just anything I wanted to hear and just blow smoke up my ass. And now I'm just like, no, I need to do it. I need to walk it out. Might take a little bit longer, but success for me is just like being able to go to sleep and wake up in a peaceful home and just wake up and do what you love to do. Like it's not all the flashy stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was fun for a while, but I'm like, man, I love peace now. Yeah. I love the mental side of just like knowing that there's a partner that I'm with, that I'm doing life with, and I have some of the most brilliant minds on the planet that I'm able to create with. And it's super grateful.
Do you think you've like reached like a moment of gratitude?
For sure.
Of your life?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like it's never like, I love watching people that have never done anything and then they start like a world changing business like at 50. Mm-hmm. Just because they never stop being like hungry or being like inquisitive. I feel like I have like a lot of that where like for me doing 2 scores right now was something that I didn't even think about 5 months ago. So who knows what this is going to evolve to. You can't pay me because I've done all the mental circus and had all the panic attacks. You couldn't pay me money to compromise that anymore because I already know what it'll take to go there, and it's really easy for my brain to like go there again. You couldn't write a check big enough to me to go through that because I was literally the worst shit ever.
That you had gone through,
man. That was life changing. So yeah, I think in the long-winded answer, like just having peace and just like waking up knowing you're a good human.
Yeah.
Like and you got good friends.
Yeah. That's actually something that really struck me when we were in Oaxaca. We were at the mezcal tasting with Asís.
Mazalateca? No.
No.
And the
guy
pueblo.
you met, Camino Rivera.
So we were-
oh my gosh!
so
While
we were-
I was doing 75 hard, so I couldn't even drink it. So I've never tasted his mezcal.
It's
It's
actually
really
good.
great. Yeah. So
it's
we
really good.
we were fortunate enough to meet Asís,
His sister.
and his sister and his dad.
Oh yeah, his dad too.
So we met part of the and the sister's little daughter. So we met a lot of the family.
Wow.
But the point is, Asís was kind of taking us through the tour of his house, and he was showing us how they make the mezcal and his roots, and like his dad really wanted to maintain the
originality of mezcal because big companies came in and made it differently, you know.
And at one point, Asís was talking. He's like, I never understood my dad and why he would just sit in silence at where they were at, where they produced the mezcal, because his life was always just go, party, on to the next big thing. And at one point, I kind of had like a moment of like self-reflection. I was like, I definitely felt that. And I felt a deeper connection with Aziz because he works with his dad and I work with my dad.
Yeah.
And I was always on the go, on the prowl. I want to party. I would just work to work, but my mind was always on what am I going to do tonight? And Aziz at one point said his dad, he understood his dad one day when he's like, why do you like this place? I'm a butcher what happened, but he's like, why do you like this place? And he said, close your eyes and listen. And we all did it. And there was this moment of like peace. Like a solid like 3 minutes where nobody talked. All you heard was just the birds. There was no cars because it's very, it's very rural. There was nothing going on, and it was just peaceful and quiet.
Yeah,
and I think now
it was so quiet that for a minute I was like, "All right, can we talk now?" Or because it was just we stood there for a while. Just listening, you know, and it was like, okay, like, can we talk now? Or are we still listening?
But now I feel like now I'm chasing that like inner peace, like that kind of like I said, this Oaxaca trip like really did speak to me a lot, and like now, like I do want to channel that because I feel like I said earlier, it's like I'm constantly chasing the algorithm.
Yeah. Where
it's like now I just need to like settle in. It's like why, for what, like what is the purpose of this? Yeah. Like is the purpose like seeking validation, or is the purpose me actually being happy with what I'm producing? Is my purpose really being happy with the podcast and the guests that we have on, the merch that we're coming out with, you know, or is the purpose really just seeking other people's validation through their likes and their comments and their shares?
Yeah.
So it just really gave me like a different perspective on life.
I think multiple things can so be true because it is the nature, the beast of the business that you're in, you know? But at the same time, if you aren't happy when all of it is just dead silent, you know, who is that inner voice that's speaking to you? What are those inner thoughts?
Yep.
You know, continually. So, I mean, maybe the next, you know, phase, getting into, you know, more breath work, meditation, and stuff like that. That's a game changer.
Yeah, I do want to start getting into that because for a while, and I would always tell Pao, I was like, I hated being in silence.
Yeah.
I needed the constant noise.
Yeah.
Whether it was music or whether if it was a TV show.
Yep.
I just needed the constant noise because I hated being in solitude.
Yeah.
And then now this trip, I was like, well, why am I so fucking scared of my own thoughts?
Yeah.
You know, what am I really hiding from? You know, and I think that's, like you said, my next step is finding out why am I so anxious when I'm alone. Yeah.
I heard a good teaching, and I might butcher it the way that he said it, but he was like, it's interesting that the two biggest commandments that Jesus said were, you know, love God before anything else, and then love your neighbor as you love yourself. And he's like, and that is actually the biggest issue. They're loving their neighbor exactly how they love themselves, and they hate themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wow.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I still have this inner dialogue that's not always the kindest by any means. So I'm glad that was like a huge takeaway, you know, in Oaxaca, because I mean, that's a very special place to a lot of special people, you know, and you got to experience that. So by no means like try to brush that off, like dive into that, you know. Some people will be in a weird situation and be like, oh, I don't want to do that again. And now you're like,
well, a part of me like a few years ago would have hated that.
For sure.
I would have hated that. Like I hated being in silence.
Yeah.
Like even when we first started dating, like I'm the kind of person that like I'll get into the car and I don't have to turn the radio on right away.
Same.
Like I actually kind of like driving in silence sometimes.
Yeah. You and I will drive together. yeah.
Me and CD are like, they're fucking pounding.
And then, and like we'd get in the car and like I wouldn't put any music on and he'd be like, can you put some music on? And we'd be like, I mean, but like he would,
really?
You know, and like I love sitting in silence. Like if we're just sitting together, like I don't, you know, I'm just like, I'm comfortable, like I'm fine. And it was so weird for him at the beginning. We've grown, like he can definitely sit in silence now.
I'm grown.
I'm grown. But at the beginning I was like, but yeah, no, it's definitely gotten a lot better. But yeah, I can do silence for sure.
But Kelly, we are going to start wrapping things up. Like I said, we got 15 minutes, so you got to get to bed, bro. So.
Oh God. Oh God.
Bro, I don't know what time it is. I got put. She was like, just make sure you drive safe on the way home. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
I shouldn't have given you chamomile tea that put you to sleep.
Nah, you good. You good.
Like I know this conversation can go on forever, but like I said, I wanted to get you in first, kind of like, you know, like scrape the
get to
top of the
know
barrel
you.
a little bit so people can know you, and then we'll have some more interviews. We'll have or sit down talks, not interviews. I hate calling them interviews, especially now with you and Silvia, because I just feel like we can go on forever.
She's the most interesting human ever.
Yeah.
I'm definitely out of my league with that one, but I'm
We
blessed
both
to-
are.
Yeah, bro. At least we know it.
Yeah, I'm conscious about it.
Yeah.
But like every podcast with special guests, I do like to end it with this special question: is if you could go back and give younger Kelly some advice, at what age would you go back to, and what would you say?
You text. What'd I say? Fuck bitches, get money.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm dead. No.
Best piece
And
of
like I
advice
said, I want to
Let's
clip
get
it
it.
because it's gonna be the best
Fuck
reel
bitches,
ever.
get money. No.
Mic drop.
And that's the end of the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah. Man. So the selfish part of me was like, yo, buy Bitcoin in 2010. Like,
All of us.
fuck. No, I honestly would say like I'm just proud of myself for just continuing to evolve. I've seen a lot of people my age or even a little bit older just get stuck in the way of thinking. And I love having a really hard opinion about something until I'm proven otherwise and then able to just shift. And so I think I'm grateful that I might not even be answering your question, but I think I'm just grateful I've always stayed inquisitive.
And that is something that like I admire from a lot of people, is that want to learn and evolve.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm definitely the type of person who, like, in the beginning when Bao and I first started dating, I was very complacent. But because I was also at the tail end of a business where I was very young when I started it.
Yeah.
And I was just very much on the go. I was learning things that I never knew before. I was switched from like nursing to being an entrepreneur, two totally different careers. And then when Bao came back from San Francisco and we started talking and dating, I was just so tired. But then now I'm just so fucking curious.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I just consistently just want to like start something new because I'm just generally curious about a new career or a new path, or just life in general. Like I said, like the whole India thing with you, it's just being able to disconnect and disassociate your life
For sure.
from the U.S. just in general.
Yep.
And then being able to travel somewhere where it is a third world country and you enter a world where there's just so much humility.
Yeah.
It really does humble you and it grounds you.
Very
and
much
it's like,
so.
you know, and as thankful as I am to live here and have the opportunities that I have, I think we all do live a very sheltered life here. And until you are able to like travel and experience those things, it just gives you a whole other perspective of life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very generally happy and content with myself that I have that general curiosity to want to have that or want to live those experiences.
Yeah. So you're saying that we all need to get down to Oaxaca and do
Pretty
some of these
much.
podcasts
Hell
down
yeah.
there next year?
Yeah, and do maybe some ayahuasca. I don't know.
Do it while on
On the
podcast.
podcast, imagine.
That
shit.
would be
That would be fucking wild, yeah.
Some peyote
That's
and
when you
ayahuasca.
start the Patreon.
I was like, this shit is only going on Patreon. We all threw up on each other.
Imagine.
But we do, before I do want to actually, I forgot to ask you this earlier, is if you do have any advice for any young artists or anyone wanting to start in the fitness industry, whatever it is, whatever industry that we've talked about, like, is there any advice that you want to give anybody starting this? That was, well, I don't know. I had a brain freeze.
It's all good. It's so good. I understood it all.
Thank you.
I think we understood.
Yeah.
Fuck, let's stop.
So, advice for, just put shit out. Put shit out and then own it. Like, be smart with contracts. Run a contract through ChatGPT. I don't give a shit. But, like, be smart. There's so much data and knowledge out there now. And yeah, just surrounding yourself with people that don't have egos is like the biggest thing. I don't work with people who have egos now, thankfully. Like my roster of writers and producers that I'm with, I'm just like, yo, I love them all, yo, and we're good. And then the fitness stuff, man, fix your sleep first. Sleep is God. Like, I'm not kidding. I got like a couple years on some people, 38 looks different on everybody, but hey, fix your sleep first. Get that gram of protein per pound of body weight. Try to walk a lot. And then, and actually the biggest thing is limit caffeine right when you wake up.
Yep.
Like, try to wait for that cortisol, because when you wake up, your cortisol levels are the highest. And so if you spike that with caffeine, it's just going to send you into a little more anxiety. So you want those cortisol levels to drop, Maria. And then we just wait a little bit. And then
I need you to talk to him about walking.
So it's funny. So I'll let you finish. And I'll tell you.
Walking is the GOAT, man.
Finish
Walking is the
telling
GOAT.
you.
I had an Achilles injury when I was doing 75 hard last year, because my coach was training somebody who was like hiking Everest and everything. So we're pulling tires on our, like, we had a chest strap and then we had a rope and then a tire, and we were sprinting on the sand.
Damn.
And just like lifeguard tower to lifeguard tower.
Wow.
And this guy would do it for like, he would walk like that for hours, but he's like, this was the closest thing you could do to like climbing up Everest. Just sucks.
Yeah.
And so I was sprinting and it kind of like fucked with my Achilles because and so all I could do when I was doing 75 hard was walk, because it's 2 workouts a day. Walking, zone 2 walking can change your life. It's just about that heart rate.
All I'm thinking about is the time when you called me a bitch. I sent you when I was cycling. Oh, and you're like, bro, I fucking run faster than you cycle.
He sent me a screenshot. He was so proud of it. And I looked at his tempo and I was like, you little bitch. I was like, what is this tempo, bro? Are you like...
And I was so mad because so that day, Pao and I had just gone like on a leisure bike ride. And the next day I was like, you called me a bitch. And like, I hate when people call me a bitch because it just gets me on my shit.
The funniest part was that he sent like the screenshot to my mom. Like we have like a group chat with my mom, and my mom was like, I mean, I think I walk faster than that too.
So the next day we go on a bike ride and I'm like, I'm determined to beat this shit. And she's like, where are you going?
I was like, I thought we were just taking a stroll.
But actually,
That is true.
last little rant. I have gotten a lot better with the caffeine. Now what I do is, it's about like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive if I'm really driving stupidly slow to my parents' house. But before, I used to drink coffee right away.
Yeah.
When I would wake up, I'd come downstairs, and as I was making breakfast, I would drink a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then I would make a second one to go.
Got it.
But now I stopped making coffee here in the morning, and then I'll wait till I get to my parents, because that's where we switched vans and cars and stuff.
Got it.
And then I'll eat. And then finally I'll do it. I've gotten a lot better with that.
Caffeine is your friend if it's utilized the right way.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think like it's not, but too much of it too soon with cortisol levels. Just start your morning with those electrolytes in like a dense like phytonutrient green, and then like 30 minutes later, an hour later, you're good.
I don't know, but I know a few listeners that need to listen to that piece of advice right there. They don't listen to me, so maybe they'll listen to Kelly.
I got you, bro. I'll get back to texting you more, bro.
But anyways, Kelly,
And the walking. We got to talk about the walking.
Anyway, so we're stopping the
anyways,
podcast now.
Next
podcast
is this an intervention, actually?
Fuck.
We're inviting him over more often.
Well, speaking of the walking, it's funny when we did come back from Oaxaca, and I was like itching to go back to the gym.
Yeah.
One of the days I didn't go to the gym. Oh, my train with the guy that I was working out with.
Yeah.
His tire popped, so he was like, "Oh, I can't work out today." And I immediately turned over and looked up. I was like, "You want to go on a walk?"
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, okay. That's
Honestly,
I'm changing,
you,
guys.
you bring walking into, and I know you're doing some strenuous work like all day. So sometimes just to hear walking after that, you're like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Literally.
So I'm fully aware, but that is like one of the biggest components of it. It is.
Yeah. It has helped out a lot. Yeah. But anyways, guys, I don't want to keep you too long.
No.
You already made it to like probably 2 hours worth of a podcast.
Yes.
And if you guys did make it this far, thank you so much for tuning in.
And thank you, Kelly, for being
Yo, love
here.
you guys so much.
No, we love you
love
too,
you.
and thank you so much.
Looking forward to having the queen herself, Sylvia Sessions.
Again.
Yeah,
For
she
a
gave me this
third
custom sweater. We need to get you guys
Me
some
too.
swag.
I know.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
is the most reoccurring podcast guest, right? Besides Andy.
I think they're
It's like her and Andy are like tied. But if she does this third one, then Andy.
She's such a good conversationalist.
She
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, she
Whenever she's in Toastmasters, so that doesn't really help either.
We have to
so.
get oh my god, Jazz here.
Oh, yeah.
Jen.
Oh my God.
I
You're
think the
lucky.
whole Oaxaca crew, because
I know.
Michelle just
That'd be
launched
so
her.
lit.
Michelle
Yeah.
just launched her
Her
matcha
matcha.
business.
Yep.
Yeah, Pat is an amazing person to talk
Patricio.
to. Yeah, his laugh is so contagious.
You can hear it from a mile
Yeah.
away. I love that guy.
Yeah, but honestly, from the bottom of my heart, Kelly, we do love you. Thank
Yo,
you so
love
much
you guys
for
so much.
for everything. You know, all the back end work that you do, all the times you've called me out, called me a bitch. It really does help because I hate being called a bitch. So
We're just gonna have you just set for this wedding, man.
Yeah.
These wedding photos are gonna be it. They're gonna be it.
I can't wait. And then we are going to do the giveaway. And then whoever does win the giveaway is going to get 2 months of personal training with Kelly.
Hey.
And he will call you a bitch.
1000%.
So just be prepared. But Kelly, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I keep rambling. Thank you so much.
Love
Thank you
you
for
guys.
being here.
Thanks for having
If you
me.
want to leave the listeners where they can find you, your music, kinetic movement, everything.
Yep. So kinetic movement, and then that's kind of like where I'm doing like a lot of my training, and then just my normal IG, Kelly Bollmann. And then if you guys have any collaboration for music stuff, I got to run it through my manager, which is Sylvia. You know, her fee is outstanding. Yeah, and then just super grateful to be here. Love you guys. I love that you guys are just a beautiful couple talking. A lot of couples don't talk enough.
Yeah.
And so talking and honesty and, you know, these vulnerability moments are severely underrated. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys have a beautiful platform for this.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, como siempre, live your best life, fight your fears. At the end of the day, the only thing that you regret are the things that you did not do. So vive con huevos, guys. We out of here. We love you. Peace.
Bye.
Hey.